on my website, which is with my name only, nanditaprakash.com. You'll find all these resources available there. Okay, now coming to what happens when you are under constant stress, the kind of stress that I was talking about earlier. It increases your level of cortisol. Now, what happens, and it is more predominant in women folk than it is on in men folk, because there are various reasons of increase in cortisol. A high cortisol damages cells in hippocampus campus present in both right brain and left brain. Now, this is an element which is present in your brain, both the sides. So, it affects both the sides of your brain. Now, those who know what is the function of right brain, what is the function of left brain, you know that your complete cognitive abilities get affected. Just to name a few, problems are related to memory, retention, organizing work, making connections of speech and senses with memories. All these things become, they start getting damaged. Now you would see a lot of, earlier, the elderly people, they had less of these difficulties, but leading to Alzheimer's, leading to dementia, these problems are increasing more now because of the built up stress that we have, right? So these are the greater problems. Increase of cortisols, it leads to sudden weight gain and lowers the rate of metabolism in body. Now, I will just touch upon a small, very relevant topic here, which is body shaming. I have seen and also experienced it myself that after a certain age, you start gaining weight, and everybody, it will be your family, your friends, people that you work with, they always associate being fat with being somebody who cannot control their urge to eat food, somebody who's a foodie. So the constant comparison is that why don't you control your food? Why are you becoming fat? So the person become who's actually suffering because of increased cortisol levels or hormone imbalances is often misinterpreted as somebody who's been overeating for pleasure. So I think one thing that we need to establish as women to other women folk and to our families as well, that if a woman suddenly gains weight, suddenly starts gaining weight, it's definitely not food. We have been eating the same food from our parents' home, right? But now, if we are gaining, it could be because of multiple reasons, and very often, stress build cortisol is unnoticed reason for women gaining weight. And this is the kind of weight which is also very difficult to lose because you have not gathered it because of more calorie eating. You have gathered it because of stress getting developed, and आप dieting करके अपना calorie deficit create कर सकते हो. You can exercise and burn it out. But what is that stress? What is the primary reason? Primary reason is not eating. Primary reason is stress building up. If that goes unnoticed, this problem will never be able to get solved. So very often what happens is women try to diet, they try to exercise it, but if it is not successful, then they leave it after a point of time. So if you are diagnosing the wrong disease, will you be able to find the results? No. So let's think from that perspective as well. Prolonged stress can, so of course, cortisol level also affects your metabolism rate. Prolonged stress can also cause diseases like asthma, diabetes, high BP, and even cancer. You would also see a lot of time when you're in constant stress for long, your abilities to organize your own work, it reduces. You start forgetting things. Very often you would say, at this age, especially between 35 to 45, people saying that, यार आजकल मैं भूल जाती हूँ, आजकल मैं बिल्कुल भूल जाती हूँ. You start keeping these notes, stick on the fridge or in the kitchen, right? These are the things which you should be aware of. Moving ahead, what are the symptoms of stress? Now, I'm sure you're already aware of these symptoms, but it is very important because maybe in this session, during this session, you will have self-realization of some of these symptoms also occurring with you. I hope it is readable. If it is not, I'm going to read it for you. Physical symptoms of stress: quickened heartbeat. Suddenly you're stressed about something and your heartbeat rises. Breathlessness. Suddenly you'll have this breathlessness, the dilated pupils, you look worried, you are worried. Uh, Loss of direction. You're going somewhere and you're thinking about something and suddenly you're thinking, "अरे मुझे जाना कहाँ था?" Poor appetite or overeating. like opposite. Like, so you would lose your appetite either, or you would start stress eating, especially carbs. Tiredness and fatigue most of the time, when when you come back home, because when you are in school, when you're at work, you know that you're supposed to be continuously working with children, but the moment you come back home, you feel that fatigue in your body. Imagine yourself teaching in the first year, how energetic you were. When you would come back home, you would still be making TLMs for children. You'd still be doing something, your own hobby. You'd go out with your friends. Does that happen now? Not very often, right? So this is building up of stress. Headache, body ache that keeps reoccurring, nausea, sleeplessness, and frequent cough and cold. Now, that's not the weather influencing you. If your immunity is getting affected, of course, you'll get frequent cough and cold. Mentally, you are feeling low. Now, what happens when you feel low? Your resilience fades off. So, in any situation, your sense of resilience, it doesn't respond. So, every situation you start feeling low. So one builds up to another, the other one builds up to another, and you start overthinking about everything. Nervousness and anxiety on situations which are very simple, very basic, but you'd be nervous. You used to do the same thing before, but now you're suddenly nervous about it. Excessive anger or depression, sudden outburst of anger on your own people. Now you not do it in school and other children, but you go back home and shout on your own children or maybe your family members. Getting upset easily, poor self-confidence and self-esteem. So all this is built up. You see, they're all connected to each other. And lack of concentration. You very often you also overreact and become over emotional. You cry very easily. You feel stressed very easily. Now this is the most basic, simple, and most effective technique. I want you to do it with me. Okay, so we will take in the breath for 5 seconds. We will hold it for 5 seconds, and we will release it in 5 seconds. Okay, so are you ready to do this exercise with me? Please raise your hands, those who are uh, there. All right. So now we, great. We start with taking in the breath for 5 seconds. One, two, three, four, five. Now hold for five. One, two, three, four, five. Now release in five. One, two, three, four, five. If it is done with eyes closed, it is even more effective. Any situation that you may have, any situation which is currently happening with you, any situation which is going to come up, any problem that you can think of, if you're overthinking about anything, this is one solution to all. If you're climbing upstairs and you lose out on your breath, wait, do this exercise, you will be back with the same strength. So this is an automatic. So our body has its own way of correcting it. Our body has its own way of healing it, right? So when I don't know if you know the effects of pranayama. So this is a short way of using that effect in your daily life. 5 seconds, 15 seconds in all, and you reset yourself. Every time you feel stressed, anytime you feel threatened because of a situation, hold and execute this 555 breathing technique. You'll reset yourself. All right. This may look very simple, but this is a proven technique which is followed worldwide. Okay, moving ahead. Now let's talk about stress management. Stress management is it's not something that can happen like this. Stress management requires number one, understanding of the source of stress. So in the beginning of the session, we understood there are two ways of identifying your stress. One is a positive stress, one is a negative stress. So find out, differentiate between the two, right? Okay, one very important thing: make notes. Anything that you want to resolve, in your life, in your personality, you must make notes, right? Because you cannot keep noting it mentally. You cannot keep making mental notes. It doesn't work that way. You have to write it down, to revisit, to think, to organize, to analyze. So write down all the stress that you have in your life. बड़े stress, not so बड़े stress, छोटे stress, किसी भी तरीके के stress. वर्क का स्ट्रेस, घर का स्ट्रेस, कहीं फ्रेंड्स का स्ट्रेस, सोशल लाइफ का स्ट्रेस, एनीथिंग, यू जस्ट राइट इट डाउन. Okay, then identify, is it a good stress, is it a bad stress. Good stress को साइड में रखें, हम bad stress पे फोकस करें. Right, so let's do this exercise. Let us personally do this exercise at our levels. Second is uh, understand the source. So if I'm feeling stressful, what is the source of that stress, right? Now, for example, you're reaching your office, you're not so punctual in reaching your office. So that is creating a lot of stress in your mind. What is the cause of stress? Is the cause of stress is that your school, or is that your ability to reach school on time? Yeah, or is it the mode of transport that you choose to reach your school? So you have to go in that detail to find out what is the reason of that source of that stress. Okay, step two. Make best use of resources available to you. Very often we are not able to organize, and that's why things lead to developing stress. Whatever you have in your classroom, in your school, whatever you have at home, whatever facilities, support, human support you have around you, try to utilize it to 100% extent. Your stress will